What's going on YouTube? Tony Johnson here from officialtonyjohnson.com. In today's video, I want to talk about how you can train for a half or full marathon without running 5 times a week, speed intervals of hills, even if this is your first race, or if this is your second, 5th, or 10th race, this can apply to you too. So when I ran my first marathon back in 2019, I didn't have any running experience. In fact, the farthest I've ever ran was 4 miles, and that was back in elementary school. But besides that, it was me playing sports, a little bit of working out, but really no running at all. In fact, I actually didn't like running, especially long distance running. You know, growing up, playing sports, your coach would always say, get on the line, and you have to run sprints, or in baseball, you have to run around the bases, and I never liked it. I always found it kind of counterintuitive to playing sports. Like if you're playing baseball, how much running do you really need to do? You run 90 feet to first base, maybe 180 feet if you hit a double, but besides that, running around the bases, it was never appealing to me, so I didn't really like it. And so when I read the book, It Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins, it encouraged me, inspired me to do something I always thought was impossible, and that was to run a marathon. In the book, I'll talk more about this in later videos, but he runs a 100-mile race with zero training. He actually had no idea that the 100 miles was consecutive. He thought it was broken up over multiple days, and he ends up spraining and fracturing his leg on mile 70, but pushes through. And that story really resonated with me because my dad's ran several marathons, and I always told him that I can't do that. That's not possible. That only superhumans can do that. And so when I read that, I was like, maybe this is possible. And so I committed to running a marathon. I posted on my Instagram. I told all my friends I was going to run a sub 4-hour marathon. And so what I did was, and I'll walk you through exactly what I did for step by step. I went on Google, I typed in marathon training plans, and I printed out a training plan that I thought was going to work. It said run 5 times a week, run speed intervals, run hills, and just progress a certain mileage each and every week, right? And so that's what I did. I thought that was going to be the best way to go. And what I realized pretty quickly on is, after a few weeks of training, was I wasn't really making any progress. I actually ended up getting injured. I injured my right knee, and then shortly after, I injured my left knee. And so when you're injured, you can't really run. I was out for about an entire month, maybe a little bit more. I wasn't making any progress. A couple months had gone by. The farthest I've ever ran so far is only 3 miles, right? You only had 3, and you gotta get to 26.2. You start to panic a little bit. You start to stress out. You start to question if you're gonna be able to run 26.2 miles by the date of the run. If you start to have all these limiting beliefs and these doubts if it's possible. And I knew that what I was doing wasn't working, and I knew that I had to make a change, make a significant change to my training plan if I was going to achieve this goal of running a sub 4-hour marathon. I didn't want to let all these people, I didn't want to let myself down, I didn't want to let all the other people down. After all, I did tell hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that I was going to run this sub 4-hour marathon, and so I didn't want to be that guy that quit or looks like a fraud or whatever. I wanted to commit to it. I wanted to run the sub 4-hour marathon. And so in the spur of the moment, I threw out the training plan, and I ended up creating my own. And what I did is I literally flipped the script on its head. Instead of running 5 times a week, which didn't work for me, I ended up getting injured. And one of the reasons I did get injured is because of overuse injuries, which is very common for most runners. They pound the pavement day in, day out for miles and miles and miles and miles, and it puts a lot of pressure and stress on your knees, your hips, your ankles, your feet, and they end up getting injured, right? That's where runner knees come from, and also they develop muscle imbalances. So if you only run every single day or whatever, you're only strengthening your running muscles, which means the rest of your muscles in your body, they're not getting strengthened, so you have muscle imbalances, right? They're one's stronger, one's weaker, and the weaker ones get injured. And so that's why, those are the main 2 reasons why half or roughly half or a little bit more of the runners, they get injured. And so I didn't want to get injured again. I had to make a significant change if I wanted to progress. And so I flipped the script on its head, and instead of running 5 times a week, I was only running 2, maybe if I needed it, 3 times a week. And I increased the amount of strength training I was doing to 4 times a week. And this might seem counterintuitive, the exact opposite of what you would expect, but hear me out and I'll tell you why this worked really well for me and why it'll work really well for you too. And so since I reduced the amount of running I was doing, I wasn't putting as much pressure on my knees, my ankles, and also running every single day, depending on who you are, can be very boring. It can lead to like burnout, it can fatigue, it's just kind of tedious. And so only running twice a week, I actually look forward to the runs. It was more exciting, so that's one of the reasons that I was only running twice a week. And then I increased the amount of strength training I was doing. And the reason I did that was because what I always say is you want to become a strong athlete. The stronger the athlete you are, and remember, there are diminishing returns. You don't want to be like a super strong bodybuilder that can bench 400, 500, 600 pounds, or have so much muscle that they can't even touch the middle of their back or anything like that. So there are definitely diminishing returns, but there's a good medium, happy medium of where you want to be. But what I say is, the stronger the athlete you are, the faster and farther you can run while reducing the risk of getting injured. And the reason I say you can actually run faster by strength training is, let's say your goal is to run a 4-hour marathon. All right, that's a 9-minute per mile pace, and meaning you have to run 9 minutes for 26.2 miles. And let's say you run the first 13.1 miles at an 8-minute pace, and then the second 13.1 miles at a 10-minute pace. You average that out, you get 9 across the board, which is 4 hours. And so what I do, instead of running speed intervals to get stronger, I do what is the best way to get stronger, and that is by lifting weights, by doing squats, deadlifts, and all these other type of leg exercises that I do to get stronger. And instead of that first 13 miles being at an 8-minute pace, I actually am able to increase the first, let's say 16 to 18, let's say 18 miles, the first 18 miles at an 8-minute pace. So I'm able to increase my mileage by 5 miles at an 8-minute pace. And so the first 18 miles are at an 8-minute pace, and then the last 8-minute miles are at that 10-minute pace. And if you average that out, then it's less than a 9-minute per mile, and you're actually able to run the sub-4. So that is one of the reasons that I'm a huge advocate for strength training, is because if you get stronger, you're able to maintain your pace for more miles than what you originally could, which would ends up resulting in you running a faster time. So that is one of the reasons I'm a huge advocate for strength training. But back to my story. So I flipped the script on its head. I focus on running twice a week, sometimes 3 if I felt like it, and really doing more strength training. I running strength training 4 times a week. And what I would do for the strength training is I did a push-pull leg split, and then I just had an arm day because I like to train arms, right? So for push, it would be chest, shoulders, triceps. For pull, it's back and biceps, and then legs, of course, is legs. That's like the squats, the leg press, hamstring extensions, and all that, right? Or quad extensions, hamstring curls, right? And then of course arms is just like biceps and triceps, which really has no effect on running, but there's a look factor into running. And so since I did that, I was able to get stronger. I reduced the amount of mileage I was running, so I wasn't getting injured, and I was actually able to exponentially increase my running and my mileage. Instead of me being stuck at the 3 miles and getting injured, I noticed that I was able to get to 5, 8, 10, 12 miles and keep increasing all the way up to 20 every time I went for a run. And one of the reasons that I truly believe that happened was because I actually enjoyed the training. Like I mentioned before, running 5 times a week can be bored. It was very fatiguing. I didn't enjoy it, and so flipping the script on its head made it more enjoyable for me. And because I did this, I was able to, like I said, make a lot of progress in my training, and I actually ended up running a sub 4-hour marathon. I actually ran a 3-hour and 53-minute marathon for my very first time. And so that is how I was able to run a sub 4-hour marathon. Just a quick recap, I reduced the amount of running I did and I increased the amount of strength training I was doing. If you like this video, maybe you learned something new or a different perspective, please help me out, like and subscribe. Also, I created a brand new webinar that details exactly how I was able to run a sub 4-hour marathon, but also how you are able to run a half or full marathon without running 5 times a week. I give you the exact training plan that I followed, plus also the strength training routine that I followed. It's a no-cost webinar. I just click the link below. You can register for it, and you'll have access to it immediately. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video.